and welcome to the Mouth and the Mind podcast. I'm your host, Joe, joined as always by Mr. Darren McCann.
Thank you.
And our special guest for today is Mr. Erik Audé. Erik spent 3 years in a prison in Pakistan for a crime he did not commit, and now his story has been turned into a documentary. Erik, how are you today?
Today I'm wonderful. I mean, it's every day that I'm free and I've got some coffee in my hands to get to talk to you fine gentlemen. Can't really complain. I mean, I could go around all day long complaining about my life, but what's the point of that? It's like it's a mental. You could have $1 million and still go and complain, or you can have a tortilla in your hands and be happy. I choose to be happy. You have a choice. You can be miserable or you can be happy. I'd rather be happy.
Can't argue with that.
It's a great outlook to have.
Yeah, especially someone who's gone through all that.
Well, you need to go through bad shit in your life to really appreciate the good things in life, or even just the mediocre things in life. I mean, if you think about it, everything around you is amazing in its own way. And a lot of people take most of the stuff they have in their life for granted. Absolutely. I remember when I first got back from Pakistan, I got stuck at O'Hare Airport. It was Christmas. I got stuck over the airport at Christmas. And granted, no one wants to be stuck in an airport on Christmas. So I saw nothing but miserable people, just mad as hell, complaining about life because they missed their flights or they couldn't get on the next plane. And I was happy. I was going and getting hot dogs. I was loading up on food. I was as happy could be because, I mean, the previous 3 years I've been stuck in jail. So this is like the best day ever, and everyone else is just so miserable. I remind people, if you could just take away everything that you have in your room, even if you live in a studio apartment, or I mean, yes, people have it worse than that, but let's say you just live in a studio apartment and you're like, I hate my life. All right, well, what if you take that bed away? What if you take that comfortable pillow away? What if you take that nice warm shower and that toilet away? Those are luxuries. You'll start to be like, you know what? I guess I wasn't living that bad at all. It's real sad how most of the world has no idea how good they have it. And if you think about this is another thing. If you make more than $2 a day, you're in the top 95% of the planet. People have no clue that is the way things are. I could be sitting on a street with just my health and my wits and my mitts, and I would still be happy. If I didn't have $1 to my name, I would still find a way to be happy. Freedom is priceless. Walking around doing whatever you want, a nice sun, a nice conversation, a beautiful smile, it's all priceless. And if you start opening up your mind and looking for those little things around you, you'll realize there's literally gold in everything we look at, and people just choose to ignore it. I try to help them realize, you know what, they got it a lot better. People who like to complain are always going to find a way to be miserable. But once you turn that off, you'll start to realize it's a lot easier to be happy than you've ever let yourself be. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. You guys got some questions for me?
That was unbelievable.
No, I think, as you said there, I think COVID has taught us all that now, that even the small things in life, not to take them for granted, like even going outside, talking to people face to face without wearing a mask over your face, or going to the shop, or simple everyday things we took for granted now that everyone wishes they could do. Yeah. But hopefully now, when it's over, everyone have a newfound appreciation for everything, new outlook.
Oh, for sure. I think COVID was a great indicator for those that decided to pay attention. Like you said, I mean, to take advantage of hugs, to take advantage of social interaction, to take advantage of being able to go inside a restaurant and just do whatever you want, whenever you want, go places and hang out with family and friends. Before, no one really cared about that stuff. But once it was all taken away, that's the same concept of prison. People don't understand what they have until it's all gone. Then they start to understand what the most important things in their lives truly are. It's not, where you are in life. It's not how much money you have. It's your relationships. It's your friends. It's your freedom to get up and do anything you want, whenever you want. And once people start to understand, that's, they'll be a lot happier. Once they start to realize all the stuff around them is amazing in its own way, they'll start to be happier. Too many people are always focusing on what's just outside of the reach. They're never content with what they have inside their grasp. And I'm thankful for prison, because when I came out of jail, I had nothing on me except the clothes on my back, and I felt richer than anything. I really did. And if I had to start over again in life, I'd be fine with that.
Once there's poker games out there.
Yeah, well, as long as it's a poker game, I could find too. I mean, I'll be able to survive. You know, if I had to work as a, I don't know, if I had to take a job at a restaurant, you know, or as a crossing guard, or one of those guys who just, you know, does the sign waving, you know, I get a nice little exercise cardio and help someone go get some cash for gold. I would find a way to be, I'd make the most of whatever I had. Bottom line, I would make the most of
The
whatever I
best of
had.
your circumstances.
Like you said, you want to be a journalist, right? What made you want to become a journalist?
I don't know. I just always loved media, and that's just something I've always liked. You know, I always loved sports. I just love talking about things. Just seems to be the only thing I enjoy is just talking about different subjects and different things,
You know how to
especially
talk,
sports.
all right.
You know, just talking, communication.
Oh, sure.
And took a lot of inspiration out of the documentary. You know, to have a different outlook on things.
What did you think about the documentary and actually and not Banged Up Abroad, but 3 years in Pakistan? I don't promote Banged Up Abroad because unfortunately they only took the exciting stuff, and they you know, they only took the exciting stuff. They ignored the whole story and how I am the way I am, and by doing so, they put me as pretty much a target for the world of people who are either just haters. There's a lot of trolls on the internet. I'm not sure if you know that. The internet makes everyone 7 feet tall. The internet makes everyone invincible. And I to this day, I get death threats almost every day from people around the world because of that Banged Up Abroad documentary. But I haven't gotten one negative. I haven't gotten a death threat because of my newest documentary. So it's obviously doing its job.
If anything, documentary showed it could literally happen to anyone. Like, as awful as it sounds, it kind of made me a bit more aware of, you know, these kind of, if something seems kind of too good to be true, maybe it might be, because obviously with you, like, it seemed unbelievable. You know, you're bringing leather goods in and out from Turkey over, and you're getting paid for a free holiday. I think like it could literally happen to anyone at all.
Yeah, well, I was your age when I went on my first trip. I was 19 when I went on my first trip. And for me, it was, you know, dream job to travel around the world, getting paid to travel around the world. It's a dream job for someone who's in their late teens. And you're right. It not can just happen to anyone. It happens to everyone. I have people that have come to me who have that they were offered jobs that sounded a lot like this, but they saw it for what it was because of my story. I wish I'd seen a story like this back in the day. I would have been smart enough to walk away from it. And that's why I share what happened to me over in Pakistan, because if I had seen a show like this, I would have, you know, I would have been able to be like, yeah, that sounds a little too good to be true, and walk away, rather than never think that someone could do this to somebody else. They can, and it happens all the time. Drug smugglers are shameless. They'll get their product across any way they can, especially by keeping you in the dark, because they don't have to pay you what you're worth, and they get to save a lot of money. You know, most people who are in on it have nothing going for them, and they're desperate, and they got everything to lose. They got nothing to lose, really. I had everything going for me. I was working on different shows. I was dating all these hot girls. I had a great life up until this happened. And yeah, man, I had everything to lose. It's, oh man, damn it.
But as you said, the 3 years really did shape you into man you are today. You know, like it really did.
It made me appreciate life for sure. Before I went to jail, I had everything great going for me, but I was negative. I was never happy. I would get the reoccurring, and I'd want the lead. I'd get the guest star, and I'd want the reoccurring. I always focused on what was just outside of my reach rather than appreciating what was inside my grasp. I mean, I would look in the refrigerator and be like, there's nothing to eat, there's nothing to wash, there's nothing to do. But man, once I was in jail, I started to miss the little things. I started to miss water. I couldn't stop thinking about wiener schnitz, chili dogs. Like, man, I just want to go to a restaurant and eat. Like, food. That's all you do is think about food. Ice. A toilet. A rough, man. It took 3 years for me to take a warm shower. It's the best shower ever I took when I got out. And you start to miss the things that you never even thought would matter.
So talking about the Erik Audé story and the whole 3 years in Pakistan, where did it all begin? If you wouldn't mind, give us a bit of backstory about your life before, as you said, before you got to.
Well, I always had a bit of a life. When I was a little kid, I knew I wanted to be a stuntman. My whole life, I wanted to be a stuntman. Since preschool, I'd be running off the roofs of the schoolhouse, and people like the older kids would be like, "This guy's crazy. Watch Eric do something crazy." I'd fall. I'd take a wagon down the slide. I'd get in a box and I'd slide down the steep stairs. You know, I was always doing something nutty. So all the older kids loved to watch me just be stupid. Run into parked cars, and I knew I wanted to be a stuntman my whole life. I started taking acting class when I was 10 years old at the local park. I would walk literally like 4.5 miles at 10 years old to pay $10 for an acting class by this woman who her claim to fame was she was an extra in the movie Teen Witch, and we would do a bunch of McDonald's commercials on like, "Hello, I'm so and so, and this is what I'm eating," and just stupid stuff. But I felt like I was doing what needed to be done to get to where I wanted to be. And my goal was always to be a stuntman, but I had to become an actor to become a stuntman because the stunt industry is a lot smaller than the acting industry. The acting industry, you got 600,000 SAG-AFTRA members. You know, there's probably more actors and actresses out there than that. I mean, there has to be. But the stunt community there's only 1,800 stunt players, and only the top 3 dozen are getting all the work and they're giving it to each other. So everyone else is looking to get the crumbs. So unless you're like a son, a nephew, a brother of a huge stunt coordinator, you're sort of asked out on getting into the stunt industry. The way I got into the stunt industry, like I said, is I had to become an actor to become a stuntman. So all the roles I started to book were always like very physical roles. Even as a teenager, all was very physical roles. I always played the bully, the jock, the dumb 8th grader. And I'd be adamant about doing all my own stunts. You know, the stunt coordinator would call me and say, "Hey, what are your sizes? I'm going to have someone double you." And I'm like, "No, going to do all my own stunts." And they hated me for it because in their eyes, I was taking work off the table from one of theirs, when really I was just trying to put work on my table because this is what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be an actor. I wanted to be a stuntman, but the only way I can get onto the camera was to book the part. So I had to do it the hard way. And once I started showing up in TV shows and everything, and I was a big kid because I was always at the gym. I played sports. I'll go back even just a little bit before that. One of my stupid, crazy stunts got me in a lot of pain. I was in 3rd grade. I was 8 years old, and I got run over by a school bus. I got not just hit by a school bus and hurt, like the back 2 rear tires on the school bus, because each side had 2 tires just in the back and the engine's in the back of the bus, ran me over, destroying my pelvis, shattering it like a glass jar. So I wasn't supposed to live through the night, definitely not the week. Was told I'd never walk again. Would have 52 surgeries between the ages of 8 and 15. I'm the first person on earth to have their urethra severed and reconnected. So I'm also in doctors' history books. What they learned from me and healing me is now in all doctors' history books, and they've been able to use it to help others. Had a colostomy bag, had a catheter, was told I'd never have sex, I'd never do anything normal. Done all that. One thing they said I would be in for the rest of my life is pain. So pain has always been my friend. Not just like, "Oh, Eric's tough." No, I'm in pain all the damn time. I get these stupid kidney cramps. It feels like there's like broken glass in my kidneys, and it's just like something is just wringing me out. And over the course of my as a kid, I'd have to get used to just literally screaming in silence. Well, this helped me in the sense of playing physical sports and getting hurt, you know, because I'm always in pain, so I might as well get paid to be in pain. And that's what helped me with the stunts and the movie roles I get. I played high school football, and I have a record in California to this day for the most tackles by a defensive end. I was a badass. 147 tackles in 11 games. And you could play 14, 15 games, depending on what division you're in. I was in a smaller division, so we didn't have that option. But we had a mercy rule in the division I was in, that if you're up by 45 points or more in the second half, game's called. So I could have done even better than that. But when it came out, like, how many tackles did that guy have? Safeties and linebackers don't have those kind of stats. But the reason why I was so good at football was because from 14 on, I would always train with the local junior college, and I would take summer ball, spring ball, football fundamentals with these adults, everyone who graduated from the local high schools at this junior college. And I trained with them from 14 until 18. So by the time my junior year, I'm a vet on the local college football team, and I'm also starting defensive end for them. And then at the end of summer ball, I'd be like, "Hey, coach, I got to go." They're like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, I got high school practice." Like, "You're still in high school?" So playing with grown men made playing with guys my age so much easier. It wasn't even fair. Literally, it wasn't even fair. I always knew where the play was going before the play, just by how someone would line up. So that's how I was able to just destroy stats. And my guess is that unless someone does the exact same thing as I did, no one will even come close to breaking that record ever. I mean, it was 96 I did that. And so as acting started, it helped. To be a big guy helped me get all these roles, you know. And the local newspapers loved me. So where I lived, the city I lived in was in the Antelope Valley, about 60 miles north of LA. They would have me in the newspaper every week. And so all the local schools knew who I was. I was sort of a local celebrity. And they always had, they're like, Audé's got 22 tackles. And all the other guys are like, how are you doing that? And like I said, it was because I could always tell where the play was going before the game. Plus, I was just a beast on the field. I was just a massive kid on the field. I was stronger than everyone. So all this stuff would help me out. And also being as though I wasn't supposed to walk again, little less, dominating football. It was sort of amazing in its own way. Now, by the time I turned 18, I got out of the house. I was in Hollywood. I just wanted to be a stuntman. That's all I wanted to do. And I'm auditioning and working on roles. I could have gone to college, but I didn't want to pay for college. I didn't want to pay for college because even back then I was like, why would I want to be $100,000+ in debt to do anything when I'm already getting paid to make money now? It makes no sense to me. I mean, I was already making really good money on these shows as a guest star or co-star, getting these little reoccurring roles. So I moved down to Hollywood, and I was doing good. I was auditioning all the time. I was booking a lot, but I wasn't working nonstop. And you want to do something to fill in your, the time that you're not working. So I would take odd jobs. I worked at Kinko's for one summer. That was a lot of fun because I went to a whole bunch of proms. All the girls from all the local high schools would come to that Kinko's that I was working at and have me help them. And then they invite me to prom. And I was like, sure, I'll go. So I became the prom guy like one summer.
5 or 6 proms in the same summer.
I went to 6 proms in one summer. Yeah. And then I booked a movie, and Kinko's wouldn't let me off for it because they're like, you work here or you work there. I was like, well, this is not what I want to do. So I had to quit. I went and worked on a movie, and then I got another job as a security guard at a movie theater. That was fun because you get all the young hot college and girls would come over there, and it was easy. They would come to you. It was, this is before Tinder and Matchmate and social media. So that's how you met girls, by interacting. And I working at a movie theater where everyone would go to the movie theaters, which is so easy to just meet people and hook up. It was a great job. And then
fish in a barrel.
Once again, I got another job, and that, when I would get jobs, they wouldn't be like 1 day or 2 days. It'd be like a week here, a couple weeks there. And I'm like, I'm going to be off a couple weeks. Like, no, you got to work here or there, dude. This is not what I want to do. So I tried. So I met a girl at an audition, and she was an actress on this Disney show. And she was, at the time, it was the #1 Disney show in all of America. And we started dating, and she lived over in Burbank. Now, I was working at the movie theaters, but I was always commuting back and forth. And it was like an hour and a half commute with traffic and everything. It started to add up. So I got a job over near where she lived, which was at the World Gym. And I worked nighttime so that all my days were open for work and or auditions. I was auditioning all the time. I was auditioning for everything back in the day. I had a really good agent. They would get me out for every major movie that was out there. But my night times was a trainer at the gym, the nighttime manager. I would run the gym, like train people how to use the equipment right. And it was here at this gym where I would meet a man that I considered a very good friend of mine. His name was Ray Gazarian. And I don't want to tell the whole story. I'll just give you little cliff notes because I want people to still watch the documentary. But Ray Gazarian was a very successful Armenian businessman. And he was hiring a bunch of people that would come to this gym to travel around the world, importing expensive leather samples for him, and he'd pay them Everyone was getting a free trip. Everyone was getting $800 spending money. And I'd never been outside the U.S. I never had a passport or anything. So I wanted to make these trips. I thought they were just a great opportunity, right place, right time kind of opportunity. And plus, I mean, to get paid to go do something in another country sounds so cool. Well, my girlfriend at the time, she was a lot brighter than I was. She, most girls are a lot brighter than guys like me, I guess. She saw it for what it really was. She's like, "You're an idiot if you make this trip. You're going to get killed over there." And she thought it was sketch from the beginning. And so I never went when I was with her because she was giving me a lot of shit for it. Well, then she cheated on me and broke up with me, which is just throwing salt in my eyes. And I was really bummed. And my buddy Ray, he knew me by this time. We talk every time we worked out together, and we worked out together a lot. He knew something was wrong, and of course I shared with him what was happening because he was a good friend of mine. And he didn't miss him. He didn't miss a moment. He says, "You need to go on a trip for me right away." And literally a week after I was broken up with, I was on my first trip to Turkey. It was everything I needed. I had a great trip flying to Turkey. His contacts contacted me. I had a manifest. I had to go and grade all the leather material, the jackets, the skirts, the pants. And I got to come back, not straight back. I would go to Sweden and spend a couple days in Sweden. And it was really Sweden that was like awesome, because blonde, blue-eyed, beautiful women in Sweden. If you go to Sweden, everyone there is gorgeous. You go to a Burger King and the women there are 10s working at Burger King, at least, back in the 90s. That's how it was. Here, it's not the same whatsoever. They got something different in the water in Sweden because the women are gorgeous and they're down. They're not prudes like American women. No. So I get back from Sweden and I'm like, this is the best trip ever. I'm not depressed. I'm not sad anymore. I just felt like a whole new man. I felt like I was world traveled. I experienced all this great stuff. And then my boy Ray goes, "Hey, Eric, when can you go again? Do you want to go next month?" Well, I started to film the movie Dude, Where's My Car? And I was busy for a couple months on that. So I didn't have time for it. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity. So I was encouraging it to everyone I knew, my friends, my family, my brothers, my mother. I thought it was a great opportunity, right place, right times. And I went, I had a great time. Nothing bad happened. So I wanted other people to experience this great opportunity. So naively, I encouraged it to everyone. And a lot of people went on these trips because of my recommendation, because I was so adamant that it was legit, that there was nothing I trusted this man. Absolutely. I had no inkling whatsoever that there might be something wrong with it. If I did, I sure as fuck wouldn't have encouraged it to all my friends and whatnot. Well, time would go by, and I stayed friends with my friend Ray. I started to work full time, like all the time, like every month on different TV shows and movies, that I had to quit my job at the gym and just focus on acting and everything, because I was just too tired to work at nights and work during the days. But I stayed in contact with my friend Ray. We would go out for coffee, for lunch. I would help him do odd jobs, like bring his cars from the dealership around or whatever. I was helping, we were friends, and I stayed friends with a lot of people from the gym. He was just, one of the main guys I stayed friends with. So I went on another trip for him, like June of 2000. Then 9/11 happens. 9/11 happens 9/11 happens, and no one wants to go on any trips. By this time, I'm a full-time working. I'm working on everything. I just finished the movie Scorpion King. I worked on that over the course of a year and a half. I did the movie Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg. Let me turn this shit off. Sorry, someone's calling me. Let me decline. You guys still hear me?
Yeah, no. Yeah, perfect.
Phone someone was trying to get a hold of me. My bad.
No problem.
So I was working on all these shows. I was reoccurring on 4 TV shows, and I was just living the dream. Well, then 9/11 happens, and no one wants to go on a trip. Understandably, no one wants to go on a trip. My brother Peter, I have 5 older brothers, and one of my brothers wasn't doing so well. Like for him, $800 would have been a lot of money. And he goes, "Eric, I could use that money. Can you hook it up?" So I put him in charge, or I put him in contact with Ray, and that's that. Well, then out of nowhere, I get a call from Ray. He goes, "Hey, your brother says he's not going. I set the whole trip up. I'm going to lose a lot of money." I'm like, "What do you mean he's not going?" Now I'm feeling like a jerk because my brother, I vouched for my brother, and he's making me look like an asshole. So I contact my brother to see what's going on. He goes, "Hey, yeah, I'm not going." Just like that. I'm like, why not? He goes, "It's not the turkey." Well, yeah, it is. It's the turkey. He goes, "No, it's the Pakistan." Now, this is the first I hear of Pakistan at all. So yeah, I can't vouch for Pakistan because I've never been there. I trust Ray 100% at this point. So I call Ray to find out what's going on. He's like, "Look, because of the war in Afghanistan and no one wants to move, I'm getting a really good deal on leather goods in Pakistan." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Well, then you can mail it all back if it's that great." I can't encourage anyone to go on this trip for you. He's like, "Erik, nothing bad will happen over there." I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. They're over here bombing towers. You're over here saying that we'll be safe over there. I don't think that's gonna." He's like, "Have I ever lied to you?" He played the guilt card, the friend card, and they also made it sound like he was, I don't know, he was a really good car salesman. That's for damn sure. He made me feel bad. And when I was a kid, you don't want to disappoint your friends. You don't want to do anything wrong. I also have a bad habit of doing something. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. So I felt responsible because I encouraged this to my brother, even though I understood my brother not wanting to go. I mean, I completely understood that. Had I known it was the Pakistan, and I never would have encouraged anyone. But I didn't want to let my friend down whatsoever. And even though it was to Pakistan, to stay a loyal friend, I took the trip in place. And the thing that really sucks is that had I not taken that trip, I would have been a guest star lead on the show Arliss, and I would have made $5K. But I'd already accepted this trip. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I was turning down $5,000 on a TV show for an HBO TV show.
Do your friend a favor.
It really sucks, but that's how I was. And that's how I've always been. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And then I would find out the hard way that we were all being unknowingly smuggled narcotics. I personally was arrested with 3.6 kg of opium at the airports, and I was tortured for 3 days for information I didn't have. I would be thrown in the biggest prison of all of Pakistan. A prison meant to house only 1,800 prisoners, but it had over 6,000 prisoners there. The prison was built in '86, and it was just completely overcrowded. I was the only American in jail there. It was just 4 months after 9/11. And so it was a great time there. America's bombing Afghanistan to the north. So we're killing all their Muslim brothers and sisters. Everyone wanted a piece of me. Some asshole put a 5,000 rupee bounty on my head. So my life is worth $87 in American money in Pakistan. And everyone tried to collect that money. The thing I had going for me, though, was that, like I said, I could handle pain. I was bigger than everybody. And I was an asshole. You have to be an asshole to survive in a place like that. And, my whole life was basically preparing me for what I would be experiencing in jail. The first year of prison was absolute hell for me. But once I started to learn the language, started to understand how things work, I could have conversations with people, and once I could communicate with people, they started to see me as a human being. And the second 2 years of prison, once I adjusted, once I learned, once people started learning who I was and understanding me, was a lot easier than the first year. The first year was hell. I got beat. I got stabbed. I came very close to losing my life once. But the second 2 years wasn't bad in prison. You should never, I'm not encouraging people to go to jail, but I will say this. I had fun in prison the last 2 years I was there. I was the guy you came to when you needed cell phones. I was the guy you came to when you needed food. I essentially became Red from Shawshank Redemption because I was getting everything into that prison. I dealt with like VCDs, books, food, candy, ice cream. I didn't deal with alcohol, drugs, or women. I dealt with things that would make my time go by a lot quicker and make my life easier. So everyone else came to me for cell phones and for stuff that would help their life be a lot easier. And then I became a lawyer while I was in jail, and I was working on my own case. I helped 7 other foreigners get out of prison by arguing points on their case. And by the time that I was released out of jail, because I worked on all my own case, I had to hire another lawyer to push all the papers across. The higher courts absolutely believed that I was innocent, but they said, we can't say that we kept an American in prison for 3 years. It makes us look bad, because Pakistanis are all about image, absolute image. Like, I was like, so what does that mean? What are you guys going to do? They're like, well, we'll give you time served. I was like, I'll take it. So I never pled guilty. I was offered a deal too after the first year there. Plead guilty, pay the judge a couple $1,000. You'll get a 2-year prison sentence, but with remissions and bribes, you'll get out in like a year, 4 months. By this time, I'd already been there for 11 and a half months. So that sounded great. Like, but you have to plead guilty. And I refused to plead guilty for a crime I didn't commit. But by this time, the only thing I still had left was my pride. And I wasn't giving that up whatsoever. I mean, being in jail sucks on its own, but being in jail for shit you didn't do is a whole nother level of suck. And then being told that you have to admit you did those things you didn't do. Man, fuck that. That was the only thing I was not going to do. And I was facing death or life. And they had, I'm just kind of straying here, but if you watch the documentary, it's called 3 Years in Pakistan, the Erik Audé Story. It's free on Amazon Prime. It's on a bunch of other streaming platforms. It's not on Netflix. It's not on Hulu, but there's enough platforms out there that you'll find it. If you watch it, you'll get the whole story and you'll understand it a lot better. And like you said, if you this opens your eyes. If you're ever thinking about traveling for a friend, don't. I tell people, if someone even asks you to help them carry a couch, you tell them to go to hell, because drug smugglers are shameless. If they can convince you to take a trip for them and carry something that you don't know about, they'll do it all day long. All right. I mean, if you're like hard up and that's just your mentality, hey, more power to you. Good luck. But if you get caught and you're not in on it, man, that's gonna fucking suck too.
Sting.
I suppose for Irish people, like if first of all, if you're not interested in watching this movie after that, like what's going on? But for Irish people, the way we found it, because Amazon Prime doesn't work for some reason, trying to find the movie. The way we found it, for anyone that's interested, you can rent it on YouTube for $4.99, I think it is, and it will be the best $4.99 you have ever spent. Definitely worth the watch. I recommend it to anyone who's interested. I suppose, just if you don't mind, I've so many questions. If you don't mind, I might bounce a few off them just about your time.
I just want to sorry about that. I have a habit of taking over. But yeah, ask away.
It's the actor inside. It's the natural actor inside. Born to play the leading man.
I think it's just me. I think it's just me, just in I guess enjoying talking. I guess because I'm vain like that.
I suppose the first one I always wondered was that first day walking into prison. How do you prepare, like mentally, to be like, well, I know I shouldn't be here. I couldn't even imagine getting into that headspace.
I had a few days to kind of mentally prepare for prison, because I didn't get taken from the airport to prison right away. I was taken to a police station for physical remand, and I was tortured for 3 days. So during those 3 days, I'm being electrocuted, I'm being drowned, I'm being beat up, hung up like a punching bag, I'm having the bottom of my feet beaten. And it was literally like I was getting beat by my parents, over the weekend, like it's painful. But this is not more pain than I've ever experienced. I mean, but it's embarrassing. You feel like you're being,
degraded.
You're completely degraded. And I'm a grown man, and I'm being tortured by these midgets, and there's not a whole lot more you can do back, like for shit you didn't do. Like they figured like they could just beat the truth out of you, like. And people admit to shit they had nothing to do with during these physical remands. They'll be like giving up names of the taxi driver and people they met that afternoon. Like, oh, they were in on it, just to get them to stop beating them. I mean, the concept over there is stupid. Like, if people can't handle pain, they're going to admit to absolutely anything. I admitted to nothing. And after 3 days, I'm just tired. I'm pissed off. I want to go home already. And I want to fight someone. Definitely can't get Ray, but I want to fight someone. So the second that they bring me into this big prison, and they got these assholes on the other side of the door. These guys are like, this is the welcoming committee. I watched the show Oz on HBO. I don't know if you've ever seen this show, but this is all I knew about prison. Was like, if you go on Whoop, you're going to be someone bitch. Now, opening kickoff on football, if you guys know American football, I was a wedge buster. Now, wedge buster's the guy when all the team, the big guys get together and do that V formation. It's the wedge buster's job to knock that guy right in his mouth, break that wedge so that their blocking is completely fucked. So I was pretty good at that. I would just full speed lead with my head and everything. So when this asshole over here is not speaking English, but he's telling me like, I'm like, just open the fucking gate. And the second they opened the gate, I went through these guys because I didn't want them to surround me. You want to break it up and whatnot, but their biggest guys like $155, $160, and I'm 225, just running through these guys. And they're in sandals, they got beards and dresses on, so I'm grabbing them by their beards and dropping them. And this is literally like I hopped the fence at a junior high school and just went to war on the playground.
Matter and all. Very small nation of Pakistanis.
Had I known then that I was going to be there for 3 years, I probably would have gone in a little bit more diplomatically, been like, hey, how you guys all doing? Hey, relax, and let's have some chicken later. You guys okay? You know, would have made some friends, but I thought I was going to be there maybe a couple days. And so all I knew about prison was you got to be tough as hell to go in. I don't think you should be tough as hell going into prison. Definitely don't be a bitch, but you should be more diplomatic because you win a lot more bees with honey. You know, the way I did it then is not the way I would do it now. Now I'd go in with a smile. I'd be like, where's a poker game tonight, guys? Let's get that thing started, you know, because people in prison just really want to be left alone most of the time. But unfortunately, I didn't understand the language. I didn't understand the way things work. You know, in Pakistan, these guys, their job is to shake you down, slap you around, take anything of value off of you. And I wasn't having that. So, yeah, I went into the prison swinging, got in a bunch of fights, got taken over to the processing barrack, got in some more fights, threw a guy off a balcony. And that's when the guards were like, we need to get this asshole out of here. They put me in Kasori's punishment cell where you're literally in a dark closet. There's a hole in the corner. You can't see your hand in front of your face. It's so dark. And I would spend my first 5 days in jail in Kasori. I would spend a total of 132 days in that room. The longest I ever spent in that room while I was in prison was 8 weeks in a row. Yeah, you better get real comfortable with your own thoughts when you're in that room. That's for sure. Talk about boredom.
Couldn't think about sitting in a small little closet-like room thinking about my thoughts for 8 weeks. Never mind a day. It's just totally, got everything as you've described there. It's just totally against every human right you have as a person. And just find it mind-blowing that they still get away with it, and they got away with it.
Well, you would think that's the worst thing that's ever happened to me, but it's not. The bus accident was. I was laid up for 2 years in a hospital bed. I didn't walk for 2 years, and waking up, you know, screaming from pain in my sides is a normal occurrence. So Pakistan sucked, but I was, like I said, I was prepared for Pakistan, you know, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad as everything I experienced from being run over by a school bus. It just, I guess I had no choice but to get used to the situation. And yeah, that's been my whole life. My whole life's been having no choice but to get used to the situation. So if anyone was built for prison, it was me.
Prison ready. Do you think the obviously being used to the pain was in your benefit? Do you think it would have been a different, say, if you weren't?
Oh, for sure. If I wasn't used to pain, that probably after the first day had been like, yes, I smuggled drugs and I also killed John F. Kennedy. I was the third gunman on the grassy knoll, and you know, I shot Billy the Kid. You know, I would have started just saying anything to get him to stop. You know, but I was so used to pain that is like getting beat by my parents. You know, how do you hurt someone that
it's already been hurt?
Yeah, you can't. I'm sorry, but I'm like I said, I'm a stuntman. I get paid to get hurt. This is what I do.
God, that must have been frustrating for them. You know, they think they've got the upper hand, and you're just there like, this is what I do.
Well, they kept trying to. I think the thing that was the craziest part was when they were drowning me. There was a show called Fear Factor that had just started in the States, and I was trying to. I wanted to be on the show Fear Factor, and I was. There was a guy who won $50,000. He was this out of shape bartender, and this guy held his breath for 1 minute and 13 seconds. And he was smoking a cigarette right before he went into the tank, which is hysterical because this guy didn't look like he was in shape at all, but for $50,000, he was motivated. So he's like putting out the cigarette before he has to get into the tank. And he held his breath for 1 minute and 13 seconds, and he won $50,000. So I'm like, if this fat shit can hold his breath that long, I'm going to hold my breath that long and crush it if I get on that show. So I'm like hoping there's a water challenge on that damn show. So every day I would hold my breath. And I'd be at the stoplight. I'd be in the shower right before I went to sleep. And I started holding my breath for as long as I could and counting my head. And I got it to where I could comfortably hold my breath for 3 minutes. And then here I was in February. And this is like, I don't know, like September, October that I had started doing this. And then February, I'm being drowned for information I don't have. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what are the fucking odds of this? And it was just like, God's like, all right, Eric, your time's coming. All right. And these guys were holding me under for about a minute every time. And I'd always come up like it was like the hardest thing ever when I was acting like it was tough when it was not tough whatsoever. But people die during physical remand. That's how bad these are. People die all the time during physical remand. The newspapers in Pakistan would always be like, another person died from physical remand. Another person died from physical remand. And granted, physical remand could be like as much as, I guess 2 weeks is the only 2 weeks is the only thing I can remember of it being the longest. I don't know if it's longer, could be. I only had 3 days of physical remand. They wanted 7 days, but they only gave me 3 days. Yeah, people died during physical remand. And it was that one thing that really kind of like, what are the odds? Like I felt lucky. I felt really lucky that I had practiced holding my breath just for that one scenario.
Absolutely, Rick. Like, that's so like alien to us that they can just decide not decide you're guilty, but they'll beat you till you're guilty, because you're like you said, if you hadn't have been used to it, you would have been guilty basically, because who can withstand that? That's ridiculous.
Well, all the other foreigners that I spoke to, there was English guys, there was a French guy there, there's a lot of South Africans that went to jail, Romanians, everyone that went to physical remand, all admitted guilt like ASAP. And the second you admit guilt, they give you biscuits and tea. You know, they're big chai people out there. So people are like, yeah, I was just telling the names of everyone I knew. I made up some names. I was drinking chai. And they're like, oh, okay. So the second you admit guilt, they hook you up. For 3 days, I'm getting tortured for shit. I would love to have had tea and biscuits. You know, that would have been great. But but I never admitted guilt whatsoever. I mean, it definitely helped me when I went to court. Not for the lower court, but for the higher court, it definitely helped me that he never admitted guilt, even during 3 days of physical remand, because they figure if you can take so much pain, that there might be some truth to what you're saying. So that helped me only in the higher court. Lower courts are so corrupt; they don't give a crap if you're guilty or not. They just want money. You know, it's a backwards country, man. But I will say this: if you're guilty, you want to go to jail in Pakistan because you can bribe your way out. You can just say, yeah, I did this, and they'll leave you alone, and then you pay the cops, you pay the judge. You're going to get a very small sentence and go home. So if you're a drug smuggler and you are, guilty, take your chance in Pakistan. Good luck to you. The legal system will work in your favor. There were dudes who went to jail several times while I was in jail. There was this one South African kid. His nickname was Tupac, and he was this big, tall white guy. He was like 6'9", with a very deep voice, and he was slightly younger than me, like 2 years younger than me. And he was like, call me Tupac. This motherfucker. He was in jail when I got there. Then he got released, and then he was arrested a couple months later for the same shit, and then he got released. And then, like, by my third year, I see this asshole looking over the wall. He's like, hey, Eric. I'm like, you're back? You missed me that much? It's 3 fucking times that dude got arrested, and he was getting arrested with all kinds of heroin. He was so big, he had like 2.5 kg in his shoes. He had a big duffel bag with a whole bunch of it, and he swallowed 1.2 kg. So when he got arrested, he paid off the cops to like say he had so much heroin on him that it was only a couple grams. And so they like hid most of it. But then when he got to jail because of the 1.2 he had swallowed, he was already rich in jail because now he starts selling in jail. Piece of shit.
That is some business maneuvers if ever I've heard some.
Like, I'm curious what that guy's up to. I wonder how many more times he's gone to jail since. My guess is a lot, if he's still alive.
Speaking of people you met in, have you been in contact with anyone you were in prison with since you left, or is that behind you?
I used to be in contact with the hijackers, the Pan Am hijackers. Those guys and I stayed in touch for just a very short amount of time.
Crazy story.
I would send them. I'd send them money because those are my boys in jail, and those guys watched my back. We fought alongside each other. We always had breakfast and lunch together. I know what they did was awful, but in prison they were foreigners. I was a foreigner, and foreigners have to stick together. So I would send those guys like every couple months I'd send like $100, which is like 6,000 rupees at the time. I'd send them care packages. And the FBI contacted me because of it. They asked me they wanted to know who I knew in prison, and the information never went anywhere. But all those guys were worth $5 million each on the FBI's most wanted list. They had all been released from prison. They were asking me if I knew where they were. I didn't know where they were, But even if I did, I would never have helped them out, because I guarantee the only thing those guys were doing were watching like SpongeBob SquarePants and making smoothies and just trying to live their life as simply as possible. If I had all thought they were out there trying to plot like terrorist acts, I'd be like, yeah, you know. but I, no point did I ever think that. My best friend, I had two really good close friends in jail, Murad and then Fahad. Fahad was the youngest of all the hijackers, and they're both dead. Murad was executed in prison, and Fahad was killed by a drone strike when he was out. And so America feels safer, I guess, for shooting a $5 million missile at him. My guess is he was probably watching like DuckTales or something. I don't know when it happened, but hopefully it was quick and painless. This world we live in, it's a fucked up world, and most people are complaining about, you know, gas prices going too high, or oh man, there's nothing to eat, or, you know, it's like whoa, this, believe it or not, there's some bigger problems out there. You're just lucky enough not to experience them.
I found Murad absolutely inspiring. Like,
yeah, Murad and I, you know, it was funny. Like I never thought I'd be we accidentally became best friends, and it was only because my cell was right next to his, and he was the only one who spoke any kind of English, and his English was so broken. But we played chess. We played so much chess against each other. We played so much poker with each other. He was a good dude. You know, what happened in his situation, I think anyone in his situation would have done the same thing. And his life and story were, his life was destroyed with no fault to himself. And if you watch the documentary, you understand. But it's because of what Murad taught me in prison that I still make a living today. And he's the one that taught me poker. He's the one that taught me Texas Hold'em poker.
Seemed to speak very, very highly of him. I mean, even in the movie, one of his last acts on Earth was an extreme act of kindness towards you. It's unbelievable, really inspiring that someone could be that selfless.
I don't want to give that away, but I mean, he definitely, to this day, he's done the nicest thing for me that anyone has ever done. To this day, if you had met him, you would have thought he was a good dude. You guys you're Ireland?
Yeah, Ireland.
I don't know why I thought you were in London. I guess because the time when you said that time.
Yeah, Zoom.
Where in Ireland?
We're both from Dublin.
Dublin? Okay, I was a couple years ago. I was in Dublin we were scouting for the movie Trinity. I went to Dublin. We flew into. Is Dublin? No. We flew to Dublin. We went to Belfast, over the Derry, down to Limerick, and back over to Dublin. It was nice. I loved Ireland. It was great. We're hopefully still coming out there to film this movie if and when we find the funding for it. A movie called Trinity. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book by Leon Uris.
No, I'm not familiar, but we might keep.
Only on Dunkirk when it was filmed in the U.S. I filmed it at Warner Brothers, and for all the water stains and all the explosions and everything. I got wrecked on that movie. Absolutely wrecked on that movie. I had to go to the hospital on that movie. Me and another stunt guy. I thought I broke my hip again, and I got rushed to the emergency room, and I was like, "Is my hip broken?" They're like, "No, but you got arthritis and you got contusions." I was like, "Give me some anti-inflammatories." They gave me 3 shots on my right side and went right back to set.
Oh my God.
But Christopher Nolan was just wrecking us left and right. And at the end of the day, the stunt coordinator calls me, and I was like, "What the hell was all that?" He goes, "I'm sorry, but Christopher Nolan likes realism. He likes real reactions. And bottom line, you're getting hurt to get on this set." And I was like, "Give us a heads up so at least we can pad up." That movie was different. Any more questions for me, boys?
Yeah, just one on the whole thing with Ray, and as you're saying, your relationship with Murad. Does it not really now, and does it not make you more apprehensive about who you become friendly with, or who you do become friends with, or do you still friendly, outgoing person?
I'm both. I'm a very friendly, outgoing person. I love to talk to people. I love to tell stories. And people get the appropriate version of me. If they're a jerk, they get the jerk version of me. If they're a good person, they get the good person of me. As far as trusting people, I don't trust anyone anymore. I have one best friend, and he's been my best friend since we were 13 years old. Letting new people into my life, I have acquaintances, but I don't have people I trust. I trust nobody. Unfortunately, I've been screwed so many times in life that I will look both ways down a one-way street, because that's how little faith I have in humanity. And that's me. I'm not telling everyone else to be like that. Until you get bit, go ahead and be nice. But I've been bit so many times that I have no choice but to put up a guard. And that's fun. I have dogs that, I love to death, and I know they'll never screw me over. A dog has never borrowed money from me and not paid me back. A dog has never tried to get me to smuggle drugs for them and go to jail for them. If you can keep everyone at arm's length and people don't need anything from you, you can be best friends with them. But for some reason, people always use, at least in my situation, they always use my kindness and my generosity against me. They see it as an opening to like ask for an outrageous amount of money. They see it as an opening to try to get me to do favors. Like if you have to contact somebody and start a fake conversation before you ask for a favor, you're not a good friend. Hey, you got a truck? I'm moving. Okay, cool. Well, if you want to hang out, that's different. Hey, Eric, we're going to Vegas. You want to come? Sure. But you got to drive. What the fuck? Hey, Eric, man, I'm really hurting right now. Could you lend me $5,000? What the fuck? Am I a bank? So no, I don't trust anyone anymore. I mean, obviously I've had it. I'm the worst case scenario. But trust is impossible to get back once it's gone. I would rather be alone and safe than constantly a target. And I feel like that sometimes. So yeah, unfortunately, the whole situation has made me very, very less trusting of everyone. There's only, like I said, there's only one person in my life I trust, and that's my friend Dathan. And I haven't even come close to trusting anyone ever again.
Can't really blame you for that either. Again, people need to watch this movie to realize why it is the best movie you may ever watch.
I appreciate you saying that, man. Thank you for taking the time, man. That's, like I said, if you watch Banged Up Abroad, by all means, watch 3 Years in Pakistan. I had to tell that documentary because Banged Up Abroad really dropped the ball. My story is not just Pakistan. My story is before, everything and a little bit after. At the end of the day, even though I don't trust anyone anymore, I still find ways to be happy. I wake up with the decision that I want to have a good day, and I'll slip up sometimes, and I think people will always have bad days and good days, and I try to really emphasize, if you have a good day, focus on that good day, so that when you are having a bad day, you can remember how good it was on that good day. I mean, and the sad thing is you need to have bad days to really appreciate your good days, because if you're only up here all the time, you never, ever will appreciate it. You always take it for granted. So you need to be down here just so you can appreciate up there. And if you're having an extremely bad day and you feel like you don't want to go on anymore, you just want to end it, I'm going to tell you right now, don't focus about next week. Don't focus about next month. Just focus on the next 5 minutes. And if you can get to the next 5 minutes, get to the next 5 minutes. Before you know it, you'll get through the day. Just like in prison, when things were so bad and I was sad and I just wanted to end it, I would just focus on every 5 minutes. Before I knew it, the day had passed, new day had started, and I wasn't as depressed, I wasn't as sad. Things had got easier until eventually I had a great time in prison. And I learned that no matter how bad it gets, it could always be worse. And it's really helped me live my life to what it is today. I'm happy now. I travel. I work all the time in movies and stunts, and I do exactly what I want to do. And if it was all taken away from me tomorrow, like this whole COVID situation was easy for me. Easy. People are like, I don't know, this is the worst thing ever. I can't believe it. I'm like, hey, we have Netflix and Hulu and the internet. this is
totally different to Pakistan.
It's a vacation to take your time to learn something. You wanted to read a book? Read a book. You wanted to play a musical instrument? Play a musical instrument. Now's the time to not waste. You can always turn every negative into a positive, and that's one thing I learned in prison. Where there's a will, there's a way.
And you've been a really, really, really big inspiration, Eric. It's been great talking to you.
I really appreciate you saying that, man. I thank you guys for taking the time to talk to me, and hopefully your viewers like the documentary. You know,
All Erik's links to his socials and the documentary, and it will be in the description below.
I look forward to seeing you become a big time journalist, man. Maybe in a couple of years when you're too big for me, you'll still reach out.
Thanks, Erik.
It's
been great talking.
Hey, likewise. You guys take care, okay?
Thank you to today's sponsor of the podcast, Blossom Creations, homemade cards made to order and perfect for every occasion. Thank you to the lovely people at Blossom Creations.